board with Briscoe. The 98 of Alex Tagliani on the high side.
Oh, so close up there. Touch there.
These are not stock cars. They don't do very well when they rub sides with each other.
But did you listen to that? They touched and they didn't even take their foot off the gas. They just kept on going.
That was Ryan Hunter-Ray on the outside. He made a good move to avoid making that a three-car pileup, as he was on the worst end of that, being on the high side. Nothing's changed up front. Tony Kanaan is still leading, but boy, the action back behind him, he doesn't know what he's missing.
He does know what he's missing. He's glad he's not in the middle of it.
Right now, Franchitti is running. Well, he's just moved up into the 18th position. Will Power has dropped back, guys. He is now running 26th.
The air that comes off that car, Eddie, as you and I know from driving these, really takes the downforce off your car, maybe lightens up the front, and the car won't turn as well as it wants to. We call that understeer, and if the car can work well behind the car that's in front, great. If not, use the tools in the cockpit, the weight jacker, and the adjusting bars, maybe make it a little bit better.
Looking for Dan Wheldon. Started 34th in this field. He has moved up 10 spots. You're on board with him. And one thing he was worried about going into this race was all that dirty air created by 34 cars.
But right now, the position he's in, he actually has a small advantage because everybody else is opening the air up in front of him. And he, oh, here we go.
Trouble, contact, and a huge crash.
Oh.
Up in turn number 2. Oh, multiple cars involved. Oh, my. It looks like Dan Wheldon may be involved in it.
And Eddie, you and I spoke about this morning on the drive-in. Just this amount of cars, the speed, just the chance for what they call the big one.
And what happens in conditions like that, when you're, even if you're 300 yards behind that, you cannot stop these cars. The only option you have is to try to avoid it, and it was impossible to avoid anything there.
And you saw Will Power, his car involved as well. My. What a mess. That's Townsend Bell that was, I think his car was up on its side there, the 22.
15 there of Jay Howard. An additional entry. Excuse me, is that the 19 or 15? I can't see with the sun shining there. Some of the car is broken. They're showing that as Alex Lloyd, the 19.
It is the 15 of Jay Howard.
Yes.
One of the cars actually flew for about 200 yards in the air.
Red flag is out here at Las Vegas Motorspeedway on lap number 12. And from high above, you can see the carnage.
We talk about the car going through the air. Eddie, you know that these cars run so low down to the ground. We mentioned before we saw them hitting the ground and sparking, that anything underneath the car, underneath the floor, underneath the tub, really just gets the air underneath the car itself, and up it will go.
We saw J.R. Hildebrand out of his car. There is Dario Franchitti. Somehow he managed to get through the carnage, but
Sure, guys, I mean, there's just nothing I can do.
Will Power did not.
10-4. They are going to stop you at pit lane on the right-hand side. They want the drivers to stay in the cars.
What Franchitti was alluding to is there's nothing he can do avoiding the debris that's on the track.
Well, there is debris everywhere. You can see just how many cars are literally torn apart. And this was the one thing, and there is the 18 of James Jakes. Now, he had a crash early in practice on Friday. That is actually a KV Racing backup car that they put together for him. Now, I don't see much damage on there, but he's out of the cockpit. And look at this from high above. And this was the one thing we were fearing when we saw qualifying and the two championship contenders in the middle of the field, a big crash like this early in the race.
What happens in accidents like this is that a single mistake by anybody, which might be dirty air, could be anything, multiplies itself so fast that you start accumulating cars. There's no way that you
Are there to take care of us.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is slow motion from high above.
We talked about 3 or 4 wide.
Watch Sebastian Zaveja, right?
Yes.
A little contact right there.
Now he's trying to go from the low side to the high, from the high side down low to get going for the turn.
Oh.
And what ends up happening is that he got stuck back up there, turned around, tried to take another move going down, guys, and the backhand started to come around, and that started the chain reaction.
He was uncomfortable being on the top lane, and he tried, like you said, there's the car. Now there's 2 cars that are air. This puts
That's Wheldon.
In perspective, this is the horrible accident that everybody has always hoped would never occur.
And as we said, 15 cars we now know of involved out of the 34 that started this race. We're under a red flag situation. We'll step aside. We'll stay side by side here at Las Vegas. There is Will Power's car. And we're going to go on board with Will and give you another perspective of exactly what happened in this 15-car melee.
And Eddie, as we know, when you're driving along at these speeds, you're going the length of a football field in less than a second. So if something happens in front of you, you can never have enough reaction time.
It's impossible. You have no time to do anything. What happens maybe is just a small miscommunication between two drivers. Somebody spins and you have 20 cars that arrive on the scene at 2.
You know, we just mentioned it's very difficult to try and avoid it. And as Dario was mentioning, he's just looking forward, trying not to hit the car that's in front of him or subsequent cars that are there. And luckily for him, he got through before everything started to go just upside down.
But it's also where you position yourself on the track. He was saying, he just said in his interview, he hated being around cars that he was uncomfortable with. Everybody was doing something crazy. So as you could see, he was already on the bottom of the track. If you're on the top of the track, that's where everything goes naturally. So you have more room to like this.
All right, we are getting word that there's Randy Bernard.
Our thoughts and prayers are with his family today. IndyCar, its drivers and team owners, has decided to end the race. In honor of Dan Wheldon, the drivers have decided to do a 5-lap salute in his honor. It will take place in approximately 10 minutes. Thank you.
There will be no one-on-one interviews or questions. Thank you.
Did he confirm? All right, we came in late on that, and folks, this is the hardest part of our job, and the last time I had to do this was 2006 with Paul Dana, but we have lost Dan Wheldon today here at Las Vegas Motorspeedway. A tragic accident on lap number 13, and Dan Wheldon killed today here at Las Vegas Motorspeedway. There'll be a 5-lap salute.
Behind the visor of all the drivers that are out there.
Chip Ganassi talking there, and the man on the right is Don the Snake Prudhomme, the legendary drag racer. He is a huge IndyCar fan, and he's seen too much of this in his lifetime as well. Let's take you back. If you're just tuning in, we're going to take you back and give you the full, complete version of Randy Bernard's official announcement just a few minutes ago.
IndyCar is very sad to announce that Dan Wheldon has passed away from unsurvivable injury.
Okay, and obviously you heard Rick DeBrule. He was trying to get us to get down there quickly to get the announcement of the official position of the league, and we did catch the tail end of it where they had said that this race will not continue and the drivers will do a 5-lap tribute. There's Sarah Fisher. Just 2 weeks ago, she was on top of the world. Ed Carpenter had just given her first victory as a team owner, winning over Dario Franchitti by so close a margin. And how quickly everyone's emotions and feelings change as here we are 2 weeks later, and as we said, we were going to celebrate not only a championship, but a Rookie of the Year championship, Danica's farewell, and maybe Dan winning $5 million if he could have won this race.
And as we watch this, Marty, we've said this before, this sport is a natural high when you drive. It gives you the highest highs, but it also has the lowest lows, and you don't understand that until you're involved in the sport. And as we see Dario Franchitti here, I mean, it pulls your gut out in this scenario, and overall it's going to be a case where all the drivers are going to remember this, and it's tough. It's the last race of the year, Eddie, and it's something that they'll carry forward.
I think it really is a beautiful statement to his life that they're going to do that now. They're going out now and they're going to run those 5 laps.
And as we see Tony Kanaan, who probably knew Dan best as far as all the drivers were concerned, got in his car early and was just sitting there and contemplating, and as I mentioned, tears probably just coming down. Will be emotions that how can you contain them?
Racing has lost a great champion, not just IndyCar, but an incredible driver with an amazing record at the Indy 500, but an enthusiasm for the sport that was very difficult to find.
Just saw Elio Castroneves there. I heard him doing an interview earlier this weekend. As you look at Oriole Silver, there's Elio. And he said, it's never the fear of being on the track. He said, my fear is not having a ride. He said, I love this so much. I just don't ever want to lose that ride.
And that's why drivers put their foot on the gas. They don't lift. And you talk about the racing that we have here and how crazy it is at the very beginning of it, but as race drivers, you drive as hard as you can, whether it's the first few laps, the middle laps, or the last few laps, and that's what we are instilled to do. And it starts off when you start very young, Eddie, as you and I have discussed, and it goes through all the different formulas that you race at, and you want to compete, you want to win, and you're not just like that on the racetrack. You're a competitor, and everything that you do, you want to do it better than the other person.
Guys, I want to let everybody at home know, obviously, this crash has aired probably on every news outlet already across the board. And yes, it is a tragic situation and a day. I want to give you the opportunity at home. If you do not want to see this crash again, go ahead and turn away. We're going to go through it one more time, because it really is not the safer barrier, but it's the catch fence that does so much damage in this, to not just Dan's car, but to so many of the others. And this is in slow motion from high above.
Now, all the drivers are very crowded going into this corner, 3 abreast. One of them touches, goes sideways, Scott, and then mayhem.
And this is what we talked about before, that these speeds at 220 miles an hour, Eddie, you're going the length of a football field in less than a second, and you don't plan your next move at this speed. As you can now see, the cars starting to go one over each other, and they'll start to get up towards the catch fence, and those are the ones, the catch fences, that do the damage. The safer walls we've improved really helps dissipate the energy when the cars hit, but it's the catch fencing that's above the safer barriers that these cars got up into, and that is what has done the damage.
Another angle, and it's the second airborne car in your screen.
And as you mentioned, Eddie, cars just going for the same spot, and at this speed it just starts to go sideways. Cars start to climb up and over, and as further cars continue to come into frame, you'll see cars starting to slide through and jump into the air, and now watch towards the catch fence, and the car now goes up. It's airborne, and it gets catapulted, and it gets into the catch fencing with the cockpit area first, which is something that you just cannot be prepared for.
And there's nothing you can actually do. There's nothing you can do. The drivers are put into positions, nothing they can do. Here it's in slow motion, but you can see how it arrives.
And the parts are going everywhere, and as a driver, you're trying to miss the large pieces, the cars themselves, and parts are falling out of the sky. You really don't know where to go or what to do, and if you escape this and you get through it, you sort of pinch yourself when you're on the far side of it and said, I made it. And unfortunately, some did not.
Last angle on this that we will show you, as
it's very painful to watch.
It is. It's heart-wrenching. You know these people as competitors, as sometimes they're angry with what you say about them on the air, but trust me, when there's these moments, there it is right there, and that's the the impact you were talking about, Scott. Cockpit towards the catch fence. Another view from Danica's car, as she was one of the 19 that managed to make it through.
She's on the lower part of the track, which was a good position to be in, but she has a bird's eye view of everything from here.
And as we heard her say earlier in this telecast, that she thought things were just getting a little bit crazy. She had eased off the throttle, not something that race car drivers do, but she just felt uncomfortable, had something about it, a sixth sense, if you will, and turned around and just gave herself a little bit more breathing space, which is something that worked out very well for her.
Charlie Kimball's view, he was in the middle lane, had nowhere to go.
And a car went right over the top of him.
And there's another car flying over the top.
And literally, I've been in these accidents. There's nothing you can do. Once it starts to happen, the momentum has to just play itself out.
The number 77, Dan Wheldon's car number today, has now been put at the top of the scoring pylon here at Las Vegas Motorspeedway. And the tribute lap as the cars are beginning to form as we salute Dan Wheldon.
IndyCar is very sad to announce that Dan Wheldon has passed away from unsurvivable injury. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family today. IndyCar, its drivers and team owners, has decided to end the race. In honor of Dan Wheldon, the drivers have decided to do a 5-lap salute in his honor. It will take place in approximately 10 minutes. Thank you.
And here we are on the track, everybody lined up along pit lane, and there is the field of 19 cars that survived that horrific crash and made it through for the 5-lap salute to Dan Wheldon. When they begin this 5 laps, folks, we're just going to sit back and reflect with you.
this would then be a possibility of racing. Twin checkers, way over the field.
So the 2011 Izod IndyCar Series comes to a close, but not the way that any of us had anticipated nor wanted. The championship has been won, but there's no celebration. A career has ended in one sport to move on to the next, but there is no happiness. And for all of us, it is just an emptiness as we have lost truly a great racer in Dan Wheldon. Jamie Little has been standing by at University Medical Center. 3 others were transported: J.R. Hildebrand, Pippa Mann, and Will Power. Jamie, can you give us an update from there?
I can't hear the booth.
Jamie, go. Jamie, speak.
University Medical Center right now in the trauma department, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of emotion here. Dan Wheldon's wife, Susie, their 2 little boys, his 3 brothers, and his sister were all by his side. Team owner Sam Schmidt is here. I've been told that Dan Wheldon's parents are at home in England. As for Susie, his wife, a plane is going to North Carolina to bring her family here to Las Vegas. And there's a lot of friends and family surrounding the outside trauma area at this time.
All right, Jamie, and obviously there's no more information available for J.R. Hildebrand, Pippa Mann, or Will Power, as they are still being treated over at University Medical Center. With this, we close out the season, Scott. Like I said, not the way we were anticipating at all.
Absolutely not, Marty. And I think of Dan Wheldon, just a superb person, a very, very fast race driver, somebody that I'm going to certainly miss, not only here at the IndyCar track, but saw him all the time at the kart track, and somebody that all the young drivers looked up to, Eddie.
And we'll continue to look up to an amazing human being with so much enthusiasm, and I'm at a total loss. I just can't believe what just happened.
He always had a smile on his face. In fact, he had actually done 3 television broadcasts with our Versus crew, the people that do the races when we're not on. And who knows, he may have had a career there. Many people ask me why I always sign off till we meet again. Because goodbye is always so final. Goodbye, Dan Wheldon.